Good evening. Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, pitted against Jeremy Corbyn, the man who until 6 months ago was in that role. Will this go down in history as one of the most critical days in the party, founded by Keir Hardie and now led by his namesake? The Equality and Human Rights Commission verdict into anti-Semitism in the Labour Party is trenchant and damning. 3 breaches of the Equality Act, including acts of harassment. Findings accepted in full by Keir Starmer, but not by his predecessor Jeremy Corbyn, who today said the problem had been dramatically overstated. He was immediately suspended by Labour HQ and had the whip withdrawn. But the drama continued, with Corbyn countering, vowing to strongly contest what he called the political intervention to suspend him. So tonight we talked to the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, Angela Rayner, appointed to the shadow cabinet by Jeremy Corbyn, to senior Jewish politicians, a former senior advisor to Jeremy Corbyn, and to political commentators. First, here's our political editor, Nick Watt. Well, Nick joins us now. A very big move, bold move by Keir Starmer.
Well, Keir Starmer knows that a decision of historic proportions was made today. Now, friends...
Nick, thank you very much indeed. Well, we did ask Jeremy Corbyn for an interview, but he declined. Earlier this evening, I spoke to Labour's Deputy Leader, Angela Rayner, and started by asking for her reaction to the EHRC report.
For me,
well, this report is a far cry from the previous one, commissioned by Jeremy Corbyn in 2016, a year after he became the party leader. That was led by the former Chief Executive of Liberty, Shami Chakrabarti, now a Labour peer, and found that there was an occasionally toxic atmosphere, but the party was not overrun by anti-Semitism. That was the opening line. The tone of today's report is so very different. So how did the party get here, and what are the roots of the anti-Semitism problem the EHRC has ruled on? And what do the events of today mean for the future of the party? Well, we'll discuss that with 2 political commentators and a Labour activist in a moment. But first, here's our policy editor, Lewis Goodall. Lewis Goodall will join me now to reflect on today's ruling and what it does mean for the Labour Party is Observer journalist Sonia Soda, the political commentator Steve Richards, and the left-wing Jewish activist and historian Barnaby Raine. Good evening to you all. Steve Richards, first of all. This has become about Jeremy Corbyn. Was Keir Starmer right to back a move to suspend him, if indeed he did actually back it and was involved in it? Was it the right move to suspend him?
I don't think it was.
Agree with that, Sonia?
I actually disagree with it. And I think, first of all, this had to be an ethical decision. So it didn't really matter on what I think the political ramifications of this are. I actually think there are very few political downsides of this action for Labour. I think Labour is fair.
But, Barnaby, what about so many of, particularly younger people, who joined on the wave of the Corbyn mania that we saw a bit of there? Will essentially that be a 5th column in the party, or will a lot of people leave the party?
I have to say I find it extremely telling and depressing that we are already talking about...
ERC, Steve Richards, the ERCHC found failings. There is no doubt it found failings.
The ERCHC found 2 people with legally actionable cases, one of whom is the councillor I've never...
Steve Richards, what happens next? You heard the lineup who are going to move in to make sure that Jeremy Corbyn is reinstated. Is this now going to be another long-running sore?
There is
To Barnaby's point, though, if we're actually discussing anti-Semitism, we have heard and we know that synagogues are places that have to be guarded. You know, that social media is fused with hate and foul things towards both Jewish people that are in the public eye and Jewish people who are not. The fundamental thing is, if there is a disagreement at the top of Labour, do you think that Jewish people can actually feel safe?
I think that is a question.
I think we have to leave it there, but also to say that that report was not a political report. It was anything but, of course, and that was the way that it was put together. So thank you.
To attack Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you all very much indeed. Quickly with the front pages now, I'm afraid. Daily Telegraph, shaming of Corbyn sparks Labour civil war. The Guardian, Labour plunged into crisis after Corbyn is suspended. The Daily Mail, RIP Corbyn's legacy of hate. And the Morning Star, anti-racist to his core, Corbyn to fight political suspension over fallout of anti-Semitism report. That's it for tonight. Tomorrow we'll report from the US presidential campaign trail in the key state of Florida. But for now, from all of us, a very good night.